Welcome people to the Swing Art History Hour.
Bienvenue à la conférence.
Just a couple of things, just to introduce everyone first of all. I'd like to introduce our special and amazing co-MC and also our interpreter. Let's give it up for none other than a sister from another mother. Let's give it up for Oceana! And she's brought a baby along with her today, but not on stage. It's really a family affair. Before I introduce our guests, I was here last year giving a history talk, and I mentioned that I've been doing this for 30 years now, and traveling around the world and talking to people about the history of swing dance and of our legends. But it's nice to have people that actually was around for a long time, that actually mixed with the Bassies and the Ellingtons and the Hoofers of the day and dance in the Savoy Ballroom. And so when we spoke to Maxim and said we have to bring Chester and Barbara here, it felt his eyes lit up and the project began. So now I'd like to welcome our legends. Let's give it up for Chester Whitmore and Barbara Bilotte!
Joseph était là l'année dernière, il a déjà donné une conférence sur l'histoire du swing où il expliquait que lui ça fait 30 ans qu'il fait ça et qu'il parle de l'histoire du swing, mais que c'était encore mieux d'avoir des personnes qui étaient vraiment là, qui viennent du Savoy Ballroom, et donc il a mentionné l'idée à Maxime de faire venir Chester et Barbara cette année avec nous.
Perfect. We have to also translate the clapping. So, in no particular order, what I like to do first of all is I've obviously known these people for a while, and what I like to do is dive into who are they before we go into history. Are you with me? Yeah. We're going to start with Chester. Tell us a little bit about how it all started for you in dance-wise, not from a baby, but I think you should have a microphone somewhere. It's on your guitar? Excellent.
Avant de s'intéresser à l'histoire du swing, on va déjà s'intéresser à qui sont Chester et Barbara, et on commence avec Chester.
I got started by being a dancer. I was not supposed to be a dancer. I got started by being a filmmaker. I was a filmmaker first, and that led me into the art of dance. I had to do a project, a documentary on the world of dance, ballet, and that started, and I liked film so much I would watch a lot of old musicals, great Bill Robinson, Fred Astaire, the old movies. And I said, I like that style of dancing. I want to learn how to do that. So I dedicated myself to try to find out where can I find that style of dance. It was tap, swing, whatever it was. I said, yeah, they look like they're having fun. Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I went around looking for books. Books wasn't around, and got me started. A friend of mine told me to go to this institution called the Intercity Culture Center, where they taught young adults how to do stage presentation, film, and they said they got a great dancer there, great man. And I got started by trying to find this gentleman, but he wasn't there. When he come back, found out he was out on the street, driving on a car, flat tire. Oh!
Alors, Chester n'a pas commencé comme danseur, il a commencé comme réalisateur de films. Et un jour, il a travaillé sur un projet où il y avait, je crois, de la musique, jazz, swing. Et il s'est dit, mais c'est super, j'ai vraiment envie de connaître ce monde mieux. Et de fil en aiguille, il a découvert les claquettes, il a découvert la danse swing. Et il a vraiment plongé dedans.
I found my first teacher. He had a flat tire on a car, and nobody was helping him. And I was riding my bicycle with my tap shoes on.
Il était sur son vélo avec ses chaussures de claquettes. Et il sort de voiture. I didn't understand it.
Okay, he had a flat tire on his car. Punch it.
Il avait un pneu crevé dans sa voiture. Et il était en vélo avec ses chaussures, ses claquettes. Et personne ne l'aidait. Oui, ça j'ai compris. C'est pas ce que j'ai dit.
His car wasn't working. And so I was riding my bicycle, and I said, nobody helped this gentleman. So I decided to help him out.
Donc Chester, qui était sur son vélo avec ses claquettes, s'est arrêté pour aider le monsieur qui avait un pneu crevé.
All right. Okay. So I was helping him out, and this guy looked on my bicycle, saw the tap shoes. He said, "You're a hoofer." I said, "What? You're a hoofer." I said, "I'm not a hooker."
C'est difficile, le jeu de mots est en anglais, mais donc le monsieur dans la voiture a dit à Chester, tu es un hoofer, qui est le mot pour tap dancer, et Chester a répondu, I'm not a hooker, qui veut dire je ne suis pas une pute. Ils ne se sont pas trop compris.
Just out of interest, put your hands up. Parlez anglais? So the majority. Okay.
Okay, so he said, "You know I tap dance." I said, "You do?" "Yeah, here's my card." And I said, "Oh, okay. So I'm going to take this man's offer up." I went to his house, and he said, "Show me what you got." I showed him my little steps. It wasn't that good. I thought it was hot stuff, but I wasn't that good. I was like, "Oh, she got that!" And he said, "Try this." And he went across the floor. Bam! And I looked. Mine don't look like yours. So he said, "If you would like to learn, I'll teach you." And we had a great friendship. And he was the one that started me into the world of jazz dance. And all of his friends were great dancers. And I didn't know who this gentleman was. I danced with him over 2 years straight. And he wound up being one of the greatest tap dancing duo. And his name was Bayard Nicholas.
Donc le monsieur dans la voiture était un très grand danseur de claquettes et quand il a vu Chester avec ses claquettes, il lui a dit « Est-ce que tu sais faire ça ?» Il a fait un truc de fou. Chester il a fait « Non, moi je sais pas faire ça ». Et donc il lui a proposé de lui apprendre et ils ont travaillé ensemble pendant 2 ans. Et peux-tu répéter le nom du... Can you repeat the name, please, of the...
Bayard Nicholas.
Voilà.
When is my turn? I gotta say something.
Okay. So, Barbara, as you say, we save the best till last.
Well, you better hurry up.
So, Barbara, how did your dance journey begin?
Well, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell them. I never went to dancing school, and I never had anybody really to teach me the fundamental parts like I'm teaching them with him. I never had nobody to do that for me. But once I got out of high school, my grandmother said, it's time to go to New York.
Elle n'a jamais été dans une école de danse et elle n'a jamais eu personne pour lui apprendre, pour lui donner des cours de danse. Mais un jour, sa grand-mère lui a dit qu'il était temps qu'elle aille à New York.
Okay. I said, do I have to? She said, yes. She said, you'll finish high school it's time for you to go to New York for your mother.
Tu finis le lycée et tu vas à New York.
I think most people speaking fire. Okay, yeah.
Je vais à l'essentiel.
Okay. So I went to New York and my mother lived. And once I got there, she said, I know you like to dance because I see you dancing all the time. She said, I want you to go to the Savoy Ballroom.
Donc elle est allée à New York retrouver sa mère qui lui a dit « Je sais que tu aimes danser parce que je t'ai déjà vu danser, donc je veux que tu ailles au Savoy Ballroom. »
So I told her, I said, I don't want to go to Savoy, I need a job. She said, well, you gonna get them both.
Donc Barbara a dit à sa maman « Non, je veux pas aller au Savoy, je veux trouver du travail. » Et sa mère, elle lui a dit « Tu vas là-bas et tu auras les deux. »
So I did get a job, but on my days off, and sometime after I leave my job, my cousin took me to the Savoy. Now when I went to the Savoy, I never knew a place so big. I know when you're in school and you have a gymnasium, how big that is. But the Savoy was twice as big, maybe 3 times as big.
Elle n'avait jamais vu un endroit aussi grand que le Savoy.
Okay, so I went into the place, and it was so big, I mean, it had a balcony and everything. But I went and I looked up and I said, I don't know if I want to be here tonight. But I saw a few people standing around. But this was early part of the day. Well, so then I said, okay. So I went to the Savoy, and there was a few people there, and they told me, you need to come back. You come back around by 8 or 9 o'clock, something around that. I said, okay. So that day I went home, and I went back to the Savoy. So when I went back to the Savoy, these people were dancing all over. That place was so big, and it was full of people.
C'était immense, et il y avait des balcons, et il y avait une scène, et c'était incroyable. Et il y avait quelques personnes qui traînaient là, et ils ont dit à Barbara de revenir plus tard à 9h. Donc elle est rentrée chez elle, et ensuite elle est revenue au Savoy, et les gens qui étaient là étaient en train de danser dans cet immense endroit.
So I decided to dance, but nobody would ask me to dance, but that was okay, because I'm the kind of person that everybody's dancing, I'm on the outside, and like I saw y'all with this ring around and people go in, one after another dance, I was on the outside of the dance floor where they were, people standing, doing my little thing by myself.
Donc personne lui a rien demandé, mais elle s'est mise à danser un petit peu en dehors de la scène. Elle faisait ses petits trucs pendant que eux étaient en train de danser.
And how I really started in that little circle, a girlfriend of mine, maybe she's my girlfriend now. Her name was Sugar Ruth Sullivan. She was standing there, but then I'm going too far. Her husband came over and grabbed me. He said, come on. I said, I'm not going in there. He said, yes, you are. I said, but I can't do that. He said, I want you to do the same thing I saw you do out there, inside that circle.
Donc il y avait une femme là-bas qui est son amie maintenant, Sugar Sullivan, et le mari de Sugar a attrapé Barbara et lui a dit viens danser avec nous. Et au début Barbara a dit non, 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 et il a insisté et donc elle est allée danser avec eux.
So once he kept pulling me, and once he got me inside that circle, so I said, feet don't fail me now.
S'il vous plaît, mes pieds, ne me trahissez pas maintenant.
So he started dancing with me. And I really didn't pay attention to what I was doing, but evidently I was doing something great. Because every time I turned around, another fellow would come and grab me. and another fellow would come and grab me. And the people were screaming and hollering. And I was so small, they just threw me from one to the other, but I liked that. I liked it when he was throwing me.
Elle ne sait pas trop ce qu'elle a fait, mais ça devait être bien parce qu'à chaque fois qu'elle se tournait, quelqu'un d'autre venait l'attraper pour danser et elle est passée comme ça. Tout le monde l'envoyait vers un autre danseur et elle a beaucoup aimé ça.
So that night went on, and I was enjoying myself, and a lot of fellas began to come up and say, we know, I said, well, who you are? We know who you are. Your name is Bob. But I didn't know them during that time. So I left, and the next night I went by. I went every night from then on. So the next night I went by, this lady met me at the door.
Donc les gens du Savoy lui disaient, donc elle ne savait pas qui c'était, elle ne les connaissait pas, et eux ils lui disaient, nous on sait qui tu es, on connaît ton nom, c'est tu es Barbara, donc ils l'avaient repérée.
So when she met me at the door, she said, come in. Do you know who you was dancing with last night? I said, no.
Il y avait une femme à la porte qui lui a dit, eh viens ici, est-ce que tu sais avec qui tu as dansé hier soir? Et Barbara a répondu, non.
She said, that's my husband. I said, oh shit.
Et c'était donc le mari de cette femme. Donc Sugar.
She said, come here. I want to show you what my husband was trying to get you to do last night. And she took me to the side. And from that day to this one, we have been like this. So that's how I learned to dance at the Savoy.
Et donc elle a dit à Barbara, je vais te montrer ce que mon mari a essayé de te faire faire hier soir. Et depuis ce jour, elles sont amies, comme ça.
So, I know you and Sugar have been friends for a long time, since you met in the Savoy Ballroom. How often do you speak?
Every day. Every day we speak, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. But she's in Florida and I'm in New York. If something goes on in New York, I call her. Something goes on in Florida, she calls me. Oh, we just call and check on each other to see how each other's doing.
And even I had a WhatsApp message, make sure you look after Barbara.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Okay, so I think it's probably a good time, rather than show an historic clip, I guess this is probably history for some of you, put your hands up if you've been dancing before 2010. So
Ceux qui ont dansé depuis avant 2010, pardon.
So very few, so this is probably actually history anyway. This is a clip of Sugar and Barbara Billups dancing at Frankie 100th birthday celebration, along with a good friend of mine, Angela, at the Apollo Theatre.
Don't show that. Don't show
Too late.
Barbara.
Watch Barbara do her thing. Mix it up. Here she go. Hit it. That's how you catch a man. Ladies, pay attention.
That's his fault. He told me, get down with
absolutely. I think now Barbara understands that whatever you do these days, it gets recorded.
Quoi qu'on fasse aujourd'hui, c'est enregistré.
And it's in the atmosphere, it's in the cloud for life.
Et c'est dans l'air pour la vie.
Now you know why all those guys wanted to dance.
Just before we move off to Barbara, there's some other dancers that you always talked about that you dance with. Who are the other dancers that you enjoy dancing with?
Well, I joined dancing with Nick Mosley, Big Nick, Ronald Hayes. It was so many fellas there. Sun Al, I better say Sun Al and the Rockets.
Talk about him
That's
later.
one I traveled with.
Donc elle a cité les danseurs avec qui elle aime danser. Et je crois le nom le plus important à retenir était Sonny.
But Willie Posey is the fellow that I went into the Harvest Movement for. Now let me tell you how that started. Pray them no mind. Let me tell you how that started. What happened, I was going to Savoy, I would dance with everybody and so forth, and all of a sudden, Sugar Husband Nick, some of them came up to me. He said, Barbara, I said, what? He said, you got to dance with Willie Posey in the Harvest Moon Ball. I said, I'm not dancing in no Harvest Moon Ball. I haven't had any, they rehearsal. Day in and day out, they rehearsal. For that particular one night at the Madison Square Garden. I had not been doing that.
Donc elle allait au Savoy, elle dansait avec tout le monde et un soir, Sullivan, le mari de Sugar, est venu la voir pour lui dire qu'elle devait danser avec. Can you repeat the name, please? The true name. The name of the dancer.
Savoy Ballroom?
The dancer.
Oh, Willie
Sullivan told you
Posey.
to dance with
Willie Posey.
Willie Posey. I struggle with the name, sorry.
That's okay.
And that's it. And she danced with him.
So what happened?
Et elle a dansé avec lui.
So I told him, no, I'm not going to dance at the play because I cannot do that. I said, I have not rehearsed with Willie Posey and I'm not going to Madison Square Garden. I'm not, y'all are not going to make me look. And he said, no, you can do it. I said, all of these other girls in here, you gonna tell me they won't dance with Willie, they've been dancing on mine? He said, you is going to dance with Willie Posey. Now Willie Posey was a guy, he could dance, but for some reason, I don't know why, the girls would dance with him, but I guess because he didn't look sharp like most of the other fellas.
Donc elle voulait pas danser avec lui parce qu'elle avait pas répété et du coup elle avait peur de faire n'importe quoi. Mais Sullivan, elle lui a demandé si une autre danseuse pouvait y aller et Sullivan il lui a dit non, c'est toi qui vas danser avec lui.
So what I did, I said, well, if I have to, he said, yeah, you have to. You're going to dance with Willie Posey. I said, but I only have 2 weeks. He said, you can do it. I said, but they've been dancing and they done went to the preliminary and they done picked out who's going to dance. So they said, you going to dance with Willie Posey. So I had about 4 fellas helping me doing lindy steps and half steps and up in the air and around the back and all of that. I love that anyway, so that didn't do no problem. So I said, okay, no problem, I'll try. So I went 2 weeks just to rehearsal after work after work with Willie Posey. Willie Posey and I went to Madison Square Garden.
Donc elle avait 2 semaines pour se préparer et tous les jours après le travail, elle allait faire des pas de Lindy Hop et des accros et tout ça quoi. Et elle a adoré ça.
So what had happened, it'd be a lot, they do a lot of dancing there, different kind of dancing, mambo, cha-cha, ballroom and everything, but the Lindy usually be the last thing they show. So this particular time I said, okay, I'm gonna dance with Willie Posey. You don't know how nervous I was. First thing I do, I looked at Sugar and said, I have to go to the bathroom. She said, not now. She She said, you going on next, not there. You're not going. I said, but I have to. She said, no. So they called Willie Post, they called Sonny Allen, and they called, I can't think of the other name right now, they'll come to me later. Barbara Phillips and Willie Post. And I'm looking at Post, he pushing me, pulling me. I said, okay, so I went on the floor. Once I got on that floor and started dancing, I didn't have to go to the bathroom no more. We danced, and if somebody was your right, they may have it where you see how they dance act as a boy. The music there is like jumping at the woodside. Only when we start dancing, that's when the music goes up. And they had me in Willie Post, and when everything was over, and they was calling out the winner, they called winners, they called.
Donc elle avait le track avant la représentation avec Willy et elle a dit à Sugar il faut que j'aille aux toilettes. Sugar lui a dit non, tu peux pas y aller. Et bref, ils ont appelé son nom, elle a dû aller danser sur scène et là l'envie était partie et tout s'est bien passé.
They had called the first winners first, and that was Sun Allen and Monsell. That's the girl I started working with. They called them first. Then they called the second place, Joyce Davis and Bertie Davis. They called second place. Then they said the third place, Barbara Phillips and Willie Poser. Now I ain't paid that no matter. I know I didn't win anything. You go there sometime 2 or 3 months before they recognize you for something. So they pushed me in. She was telling me, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. So I went on the floor, but I was jumping up and hollering. I said, I ain't never done nothing like this before. And everybody was screaming and hollering when we got on the floor. Everybody was screaming and hollering, and I was just standing looking up. So I won 3rd place, but I started dancing professional after winning 3rd place. And once you start dancing professional, you cannot dance at Madison Square Garden in a preliminary anymore.
Donc elle a fini, elle a gagné en 3e place, contre toute attente. Et elle a commencé à danser professionnellement après ça. Et une fois qu'elle danse en professionnel, ils ne font plus les préliminaires. Les préliminaires.
So that was the first and the last time I got a chance to dance at Madison Square Garden. After then, I became a professional. And I started dancing on stage, traveling, and doing anything that I want to do like they showing there. I enjoyed it. Now you.
Hold it. Barbara Phillips. Just before we switch over, just to touch on some points there. Obviously, we have got so many conversations. It's good to dig into some of those now. You mentioned Sonny Allen, and I think this is a long-time friend of yours now. But once you met Sonny Allen, did you compete with Sonny?
No, Sonny. What happened when I met Sonny Allen? That was, I think it was a week after he won 1st place and I won 3rd place. It was a week after we was at the Savoy, and he called me. He said, Barbara, I said, what? He said, I want to form a group. I said, do what? He said, I'm going to form a group. He said, and I'd like for you to work with me. So I said, okay. I said, but I'm working. He said, I know that. He said, but this was all I wanted to do. So he asked Sugar Sullivan, he asked Charlotte Thacker, he asked Lovey Thomas, and I can't think of them. Lord have mercy, she's my cousin too. Can't think of her name. But anyway, it was 6 of us at first. He said, I want to form a group. We said, okay. So what had happened, when he told me, I'm gonna ask Sugar, I said, you sure that Sugar gonna dance? Because he had asked Sugar to dance with him before at the Savoy. And Sugar told him, she said, I'm not dancing with you because you can't dance. So he looked at her, he said, you gonna dance for me one day. And she said, in your dreams. And that dream came true the week after he won his Paulus Moonpole.
Donc elle a rencontré Sonny Allan qui est son partenaire, un de ses plus grands partenaires. Elle l'a rencontré une semaine après, donc elle était en 3e place au Madison Square et que lui était premier. Et à ce moment-là, il a voulu former un groupe de danseurs, donc il a recruté elle, il a recruté aussi Sugar et d'autres danseuses. Et Sugar au début ne voulait pas danser pour lui, et elle lui a répondu dans tes rêves, et le rêve est devenu réalité.
Just to give some context to the conversation, so there are currently 3, to my knowledge, there are 3 dancers left from the that would have danced in the Savoy Ballroom back in those days. And we have Sonny Allan, we have Sugar Sullivan, and of course we have Barbara Billups.
Pour donner un peu de contexte à tout ce qu'on raconte, il y a aujourd'hui 3 danseurs qui restent de l'époque du Savoy, et donc ce sont Sonny Allan, Sugar Sullivan et Barbara.
So, my understanding, according to Sonny, he had the Sonny Allan and the Rockets. They not only travelled to put on shows, but they also sang and produced records. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was another one. When we was working, I think it was a place in New York, and the guy told Sonny, he said, I like the group, but can they sing? He said, they will if you want them to. So he said, well, I want them to sing. Sonny said, I'll try.
Donc ils ont travaillé dans un endroit à New York où le manager leur a demandé s'ils pouvaient chanter aussi.
I think out of that group, I was the only one that really sang in the church, so I could do a little bit. But believe me, wherever we went, he had us all, 4 girls, it's end up with 4 girls that come in. 4 girls in the back of the car. And he had us singing. We didn't know what we was doing, but we were just screaming and hollering. And sometimes he would tell us, be a little quiet now, be a little quiet. So, but he got us together, and we did some big shows all up and down town of the places that we had to, and we did. We did some singing. Evidently, we must be doing something good. Because after singing, Sunday said, y'all gonna break into a dance, so they forget about our bad jump sound. So, but the band played to help us, and everybody, sometimes 1 or 2 people out of the band might say something in the course of the singing to make us sound good. But then I have to say, after that, we made 2 records, if I'm not mistaken. We made 2. And one time, I was in Montreal, I think it was, and somebody was playing and I said, that sound like me. And they said, this song out in the rock. I said, that's me, that's me. And they had that record on every night we came into the club. Some club would have that record playing when we came in.
Now,
Donc Barbara avait un peu chanté dans une église avant, donc elle était capable de chanter, mais les autres pas trop au début, donc il a fallu un peu organiser tout ça. Et finalement, ils ont réussi à faire quelque chose de bien, ils ont commencé à chanter avec les orchestres et ils ont fait 2 enregistrements. Et un soir, Barbara a entendu une chanson, elle a fait « Oh, mais on dirait ma voix !» Et oui, c'était elle.
so, thank you. Organisation. So I know, obviously, you and Sonny have known each other for many, many years now, since the competition and the Sonny and the Rockets days. Just out of interest, where does Sonny live now?
Sonny lived in one of my rooms in New York.
Sonny habite dans une de ses chambres, dans un de ses places à New York.
So it's nice, it's beautiful to see a friendship that grew out of a competition so many years in the 1958. They're still close now with Sonny living with you and you with Sugar all the time.
Well, when Sugar come to New York, she would not go in a hotel. She stayed with me too. So that's me, Sonny, and Sugar in my apartment.
Barbara Billups.
Quand Sugar vient à New York, elle ne va pas à l'hôtel, elle va évidemment chez Barbara. Donc dans l'appartement de Barbara, il y a Sugar et Sonny, Alan, donc les trois survivants du Savoy.
Okay, so what I like to do is Chester just like to come back to pick up on some of the things Chester discussed. Has anyone ever seen Stormy Weather? Not the actual weather outside, we've all had stormy weather. But the film. Put your hands up if you've seen the film Stormy Weather. Put your hands up if you've not seen the film Stormy Weather. Okay, so just to make sure, I want everyone standing up again, please. Standing up. Arms in the air. Arms like this. Fast as you can. Go. You do the Barbara Billups dance. And sound. That's Cam Calloway. Nicholas, that's Chester Whitmore's teacher.
Celui de gauche, c'est Chester. Le prof de Chester.
So that was the teachers of Chester Whitmore.
C'est la même chose que j'ai déjà dit, c'était les profs de Chester.
Now, we're going to show you another clip, but I have to say that, as a master of jazz, been taking classes with Chester for many years. I remember back in the early 2000s when he would just crack the whip. An old school teacher, again. After the whole class is sweating, again. No, you can see this is how we learned. So I want to just understand what it was like working with Fayard.
Again.
Ouais, alors, Joseph racontait qu'il a aussi pris des cours avec Nicolas Fayard et qu'il était avec son whip, son fouet. Et quand toute la classe était morte et transpirante, il leur répétait encore. Voilà.
But there's a clip. One time Chester was at the house and he brought a clip on his laptop and literally up till late in the morning, Charlotte was falling asleep, and he showed a clip, and all of a sudden like, why hasn't the world seen this clip? You've got to pull all of them together and get it out on YouTube, and this is the clip that kept me awake.
C'est le clip qui a réveillé Joseph, qui était en train de somnoler.
That was the clip. It's coming up. So, exactly. So whilst we're waiting on that, I remember another story going back into to Fayard is that you didn't understand who he was when you first met him. You didn't realize who he was.
I didn't know the magnitude of what he was about. We were at a great friendship. We would rehearse on Wednesday nights from 7 o'clock in the evening to 2 in the morning. And he would let us, everybody, once your shoes came on, they stayed on. You know. Yes, it's rebooting. Give him a round of applause. You couldn't take your shoes off. You had to keep your shoes on. And he would run through a series of routines, but a series of combinations that they used to do in his style of tap. Each tap dancer had a unique style. You know, that was his style. He called it mostly classical tap because it's a mixture of flash routines, acrobatics, musicality, and a lot of people thought ballet team even asked him, "Did you guys have ballet before?" They said, "No, never had ballet." The way they pose, their poise and everything else, mixed it in with the jazz.
Ils répétaient parfois jusqu'à 2h du matin et ils enlevaient jamais leurs chaussures. Ils faisaient plein de routines. Et le son des claquettes de Nicolas Fayard était un son unique que tout le monde reconnaissait. Et il avait une manière de se tenir, une posture qui fait qu'on lui demandait souvent s'il avait déjà fait du ballet. Et il répondait non, j'ai pas fait de ballet.
And so these different teachers all had to be unique. And we used to rehearse every Wednesday, and I got a chance to meet these people. And this is the clip that we'll see if we get it to do this time. Different people, they threw like, I went from teacher to teacher to teacher, learning the different styles of dance, from tap, vernacular jazz, eccentric dance, comedy, etc.
Chester est allé de professeur en professeur pour apprendre les claquettes, le jazz et la danse.
So if I remember correctly, one of the many billions of stories is the moment that you realized who it was after a TV show.
Yep.
is genuinely interested in making sure the tap dancing tradition doesn't die. An important goal is passing dancing skills on to the young. Chester Whitmore, another young club member, is polishing up his technique by working out with the older hookers.
So there's a lot of variety there, and so people can see you've worked with the Jacksons and MC Hammer and so forth. I want to bring it back to another a very famous tap dancer. Has anyone heard of John Bubbles?
Est-ce que vous connaissez John Bubbles?
Tell us about your time working with John Bubbles.
John Bubbles, he's the father of rhythm tap dancing. He showed us elegance of how to dance with your feet, not regular tap, using the heel. And he started with drummers. If you're drumming, we call it dropping bombs. You know, the drum. So a lot of the jazz drummers would make the bass drum boom, 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 boom. And he started that in tap dancing and utilizing the whole shoe. John was a unique character. When I was dancing with a lot of the different dancers, they said, "You got to meet John Bubbles." I said, "Who's this Bubbles?" You know, I met almost everybody. I met the Nicholas brothers and all of them. But every dancer would say, "Meet John Bubbles." You know, I'm going like, okay. So I met him during the 70s when the documentary was called Tap Dancing.
Donc John Bubbles, c'est le père de des claquettes rythmiques, où ils ont commencé à utiliser le talon pour danser et ils dansaient avec les batteurs. Et donc Chester ne savait pas qui c'était et tous les danseurs lui disaient d'aller le rencontrer, d'aller le voir. Et il l'a rencontré dans les années 70. 70s, right.
Correct. In the 70s. And at that time, all the tap dancers respect him. There's a lot of dancers respected other dancers, the older, especially the ones that came way before them.
Donc les danseurs avaient beaucoup de respect pour lui.
A lot of the famous dancers respected certain dancers like John Bubbles.
Donc, beaucoup de danseurs célèbres avaient du respect pour des danseurs comme John Bubbles.
Because he innovated the dance. He changed it a lot.
Parce qu'il a réinventé la danse.
And they wanted me to meet him so bad. And when I met him, he had a stroke. He was already in a stroke. A stroke, meaning...
Quand il a rencontré John Bubbles, il a eu un AVC. John, pas Chester.
And I'm going like, okay, I'm meeting this guy. He said, because I want you to come by. I want to teach you something. I said, how is he going to teach me? He's in a wheelchair.
Et donc il s'est dit, mais qu'est-ce qu'il va m'enseigner? Il est dans un fauteuil roulant.
So he said, let me tell you something. He said, he rolled in his wheelchair and said, go behind the refrigerator. And there was a board.
Donc John s'est approché de lui avec son fauteuil roulant et lui a dit va derrière le frigo et il y a une planche.
And he had a board. He said place it on my wheelchair. His wheelchair, on the wheelchair.
Et donc il a placé la planche sur le fauteuil roulant. Oui.
And he said, stand facing me and listen to me. And this is the way I want your feet position. One of his arms was, could not move. The other hand, he would stand up like this. This is your feet. And he would move his fingers. And I had to emulate my feet in those positions. And that's how I learned.
Donc il faisait John faisait avec ses doigts les mouvements que Chester devait faire avec ses pieds.
And I had to emulate it. He would say right heel, left heel, and he would sing the rhythm. I go do 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 do, and he said toe heel, toe toe, toe toe heel, do 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 do. Then I would have to go like shim sham, do 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 and that's how we learned the different rhythms.
Et il chantait, tout simplement, il chantait les rythmes et il faisait avec ses doigts et Chester imitait.
Yes.
So, in addition to, you met John Bubbles, in addition to working with him, learning from him, my understanding from our conversation, you actually got to a stage where you were looking after John Bubbles.
Yes, I was his caretaker for over 8 years.
Et il a pris soin de lui, il s'est occupé de lui pendant plusieurs années. 8 ans.
Okay, everybody raise your hands. Everybody swing to the gauche, droite, gauche, droite, gauche, droite, gauche. Boom, 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 let me say hey-oh. Hey-oh. Boom, 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 let me say hey-oh. Hey-oh. Boom, 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 let me say hey-oh. Hey-oh. Chester Whitmore, people! So, Barbara, we've discussed how you got started in the Savoy, your journey with Sonny Allen and the Rockets, and with Sugar, etc. Just a couple of questions. How did it feel the moment just to sailing, and how did it feel the moment you walked through the doors of the Savoy Ballroom and saw the magnanimity of the place?
Donc il demande à Barbara ce qu'elle a ressenti quand elle est entrée la première fois dans le Savoy et qu'elle a vu à quel point c'était immense et magnifique.
walking in the Savoy and seeing that ballroom and it was so big. Believe me, you probably could put this place in it 2 or 3 times, right? That's how big this place is. And it was packed every night, because every night they had something mostly different. But I wish it was still there, so some of you could really see what it was really like. You've seen pictures of it, you may see in a room or something like that, but to be in there, to experience that, and to have that feeling that I had, I really can't explain how I felt when I walked in that place. And then once being there, and being dancing in there, oh, you couldn't tell me nothing then. I danced in a Savoy. You couldn't tell me anything. But I'm going to tell you, it's too bad that a lot of you could not experience what I had experienced when I first walked into the Savoy.
Le Savoy, c'était 2 à 3 fois plus grand qu'ici, et tous les soirs, des choses différentes. Et elle n'a pas de mots pour exprimer ce qu'elle a ressenti en entrant là-bas. Et elle trouve ça dommage que ce ne soit plus là et qu'en fait on ne puisse pas expérimenter nous-mêmes le fait d'entrer dans le Savoy.
No, I'm going to say this and I'm I want to really tell you something. No matter how old you get, no matter how that hip bother you, that shoulder bother you, dance it out. You see what I've been doing the last 2 or 3 days. Dance it out. Please. Don't care what nobody tell you. People told me sometimes, well, even now they tell me, Barbara, when I was coming in, you going in? Barbara, when are you going to stop? I said, when the man upstairs tell me to stop. Otherwise, nobody going to tell me anything. Another thing for me, when you come to these vineyards like this, bring somebody with you that don't even know anything about it. Bring them here, and I bet you the next time they're going to ask you, when you going? I'm going to go back. Because that's what I usually do. Every time I went someplace, I took someone with me. And I tell them, and you bring your kids into a place like this so they can see what's going on. I saw kids the other night. I see a husband with the baby. You'll be surprised how they're going to remember these things and, you know, where they've been. I used to go with my mother and my father to such a place. And what she did, they drive with us, her daughter. Oh, I was so happy to see her. You'll be surprised, really. Do not stop dancing, no matter what a person tell you. Keep it going, for my sake. Now, I don't know if they're going to invite me back or not, but I'm going to tell you one thing. If I come back, I want every one of you in here and tell me, Barbara, this is who I brought. Because you told me to bring somebody, I brought somebody. Now I'm going to shut up.
Donc, Barbara nous disait, peu importe combien on vieillit, peu importe si on a une hanche cassée, mal au dos, de ne jamais s'arrêter de danser. Elle nous dit aussi d'amener les gens qui, quand on vient à des événements comme ça, de ramener des gens qui ne connaissent pas pour qu'ils découvrent la danse, d'amener nos enfants, d'amener, voilà, pour que ça continue et de ne jamais s'arrêter, peu importe ce qu'on nous dit.
It was 2002, between 2002 and 2004, when I learned the stops with Barbara and Sugar. That's over 20 odd years ago. And Barbara looked at everyone, she got angry, she stood up, she shouted at everyone, "This is how it goes!" I was like, whoa. I took a back seat. and it is amazing to now, 20 years later, you know, we're traveling different countries and teaching the stops together. It's an honor for me, but what I want to really do is to share, in a class we generally don't have a huge amount of time, to share with people what it was like doing the stops at the Savoy.
Did I say that I won't shut up?
No?
Okay, doing the stop at the Savoy. that was something that you had to see. No matter what they was doing and how they was dancing, and everybody in there was really dancing, except the older one that was sitting on the side, and they were dancing with their feet sitting down by the table because they couldn't get up. But to be honest with you, you had to be there to see it. No matter what, there could be a crowd, the floor could be crowded, and somebody would say, "Do the first stop," and what they said that for? They do that. They like we tell y'all to get in line. We didn't have to tell them that. They did it. I don't care how many. Sometimes 2 or 3 would start it, then somebody would come in. But if somebody holler, "Do the stop," they'll tell you which one to do. And believe me, everybody that knew that stop would get up and get in line. And it's the prettiest thing you want to see when it's done right, and it's got to be done fast. Slow, I can do it now. Fast, I can try now. But it's kind of hard to do what I used to do, because I see the dancing now. I like the way y'all are doing it, and I know you got to move it slow, but please pick it up. I know some dancers in here though, back in the back there, they know what I'm talking about. How you have to pick these dances up and do them. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do the dance. Learn the dance. Don't stop dancing, but enjoy it while you do it. Don't worry about it.
Voilà. Au Savoy, tout le monde dansait tout le temps, et même les gens qui étaient trop vieux, ils étaient assis et ils dansaient quand même avec leurs pieds, même s'ils ne pouvaient pas se lever. Et tout le monde connaissait la danse, tout le monde, enfin voilà. Tout le monde dansait, et donc elle nous dit encore une fois de ne pas s'arrêter, mais surtout de prendre plaisir quand on danse. Voilà, de toujours continuer à prendre plaisir quand on danse. Il y avait d'autres choses, mais c'est l'essentiel.
You know what I would like to see, which I don't see too much of it no matter where I go? People doing the half steps. What they call ace and hold it down the back. A wraparound. Ace hold it down the back, you go down, come up through here, the woman. The man do round back like this. Over the wheel, a different one. I haven't seen too much of that, but that's what keeps you young. Try to do that if you can. I know those that have gotten a little older afraid to try, and I don't blame you for that. But I like to be in the air more than anything in the world. I don't like those little steps. I'd rather be in the air. And it helped me, but it was also hindering me too. But I love it, and I would not trade it for nothing in the world. I would not trade it. Now I'm finished. Don't worry about it.
So we just got a couple more minutes before we get to the end of our time. A question, we obviously had Frankie had his book. I remember asking Norma many years ago, when are you going to have your book? And then she wrote her books. So I'm asking the same question to you, Barbara. When are we going to have the Barbara Billups book?
Yeah.
Well, Chelsea said,
Quand va sortir le livre de Barbara Billups? Est-ce qu'il y aura un livre de Barbara Billups?
Chester said he was gonna do it for me. Chester. Maybe do everything else, you get your job.
Okay, we're coming to a close, and we've spoken a lot about. I really wanted to capture a little bit of who Chester Whitmore is, because there's a lot of things you can read in. You can read about history in books. You can watch YouTube and get that. But my time speaking person, having Norma in my home, having Chester in my home, having Sugar in my home, having Barbara in our home, having all these people in our home for years. There are so many things that are not written in a book, that are not on YouTube, that you cannot research. Does that make sense? So I really wanted to find a little more about them.
You know, when I was coming on dancing, and we was in shows and different things, and we was at theaters and different things, during my time, 9 out of 10, they wouldn't let you bring a camera in there. They stopped you at the door, they would take a camera, put a tag on and give you the number. They wouldn't let you, so a lot of things that I really have did, and places I really have, it's not recorded, it's too bad. It's really too bad, because I really have did some tremendous things. I did some of them hairstyles and so forth, but they wouldn't let you bring a camera in there to do those things, which I can understand it then, but I don't want to say it now.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, we'll just roll with it. That's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because I was having a conversation with Charlotte that in the 90s, there only a few camps would actually record things, and there was maybe Harang, and maybe there's one or two camps in America, but there's a lot of camps who didn't record things, a lot of teachers, it was a thing that you don't record shows, you don't record classes, and I got into that, and as a result, there's a lot of people that were doing stuff in the 90s, and certainly that regret not having those things recorded. So it's interesting, that's probably where it came from. But one thing I want to do is, we've heard a lot about our elders, but to create something, to bring people together, and to bring the elders here, it takes people with love and passion. And last year I met someone who was genuinely passionate about the dance. We hoped and it felt like he was a brother. I don't know if he's in here now, I hope he's here. And where's Maxim?
On cherche le patron.
Where's Maxim? He's coming back? Okay, Vanessa, I want you to stand here on behalf of Maxim. Come on, come on, come on. Come on.
En attendant Maxime, petit récap vite fait. Joseph me disait qu'on pouvait regarder toutes les vidéos qu'on voulait, on pouvait lire tous les livres qu'on veut, ça ne nous ramènera pas l'époque. Et que du coup c'est super d'avoir Barbara et Chester qui peuvent témoigner de ce que c'était. Barbara a ajouté qu'ils n'avaient pas le droit d'amener des caméras au Savoy. Ils n'ont jamais filmé les cours, ils n'ont jamais filmé les shows, ils n'ont jamais filmé ce qui se passait. Et c'est regrettable du coup de ne pas avoir ce témoignage. Donc nous profitons de leur présence.
And where's Catherine? Catherine here.
Et on cherche les patrons, Catherine et Maxime.
Come on down, come in, come on, come on. Back in 2002, to the early 2000s, when I started working with Norma Miller and bringing her over for history talks and things like that, not everybody was interested in the history back then. And sometimes bringing an elder, there's a lot of expense, there's a lot of work and so forth involved in this. So it takes a lot of passion and dedication. So I wanted to encourage everybody to support these people in the mission and the great work that they're doing here at Swing Art. Can we give them a massive round of applause?
Dans le début des années 2000, quand Joseph a commencé à travailler avec Norma Miller et à faire des conférences sur l'histoire du swing, il y avait très peu de gens qui s'intéressaient en fait à l'histoire du swing. Et donc il remercie Maxime et Catherine, et, enfin Swing Time, pour l'effort qu'ils font d'inviter des danseurs de l'époque et de continuer à propager la culture et l'histoire du swing avec Swing Art tous les ans.
So, in closing, I feel after 30 years of doing this thing, our mission is really to try and educate a new generation of swing dancers, because there are a lot of people that have learned from people, who've learned from someone, who've learned from someone, who've never met one of the elders, and so there's a lot of history that's missing on this global community. And so I feel very passionate about people that spend the time, that spend the time and energy to bring these people. So one more time, people, can we give it up for our legends? Jeff Michael and Bob Pitt.
C'est leur mission et c'est aussi notre mission de continuer à transmettre l'histoire du swing. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, on apprend avec des gens qui ont appris avec des gens qui ont appris avec des gens qui n'ont jamais rencontré les premiers danseurs. Donc il faut continuer à transmettre, inviter les anciens et transmettre l'histoire du swing.
Our sweet family! And this is how we go out. Volume please, volume. This is how we go out. Come on, everybody up. Yep, it started, so put some volume on. Come on! Got your hand? Swing out! 2024! Sing with me! I can't hear you! Vanessa! Miles! Come on! Everybody singing! Swing on! Merci! Chester Whitmore, Garden Phillips, my name's Joseph Sewell, and it's been a pleasure having you here.